Welcome to Wedding Day Podcast with your hosts, Sonia Babich, CEO of Iron Diamond Media, a leading wedding resource featuring 7 localized wedding brands across the country, and Dan Riggs, photography and videography expert and founder of Summit Hill Studios. Come along as they travel from state to state to connect with the most creative and well-respected professionals in the wedding industry. Every episode will arm you with the hottest new trends, wedding day tips and details, and they'll show you all the joys of planning your perfect wedding day.
Wedding Day Podcast Episode 4 is powered by The Society, Milwaukee Flower Company, and Two Birds Event Group. This week, we're in the heart of historic Milwaukee, Wisconsin, home of Wisconsin Bride Magazine, talking to wedding planners Jaffe and Sara from Graceful Events. Today, we'll learn why hiring a wedding planner is one of the best gifts that you can give yourself, the importance of creating you-time buffers in your wedding day timeline, and some savvy ways to fit professional wedding planning into your budget. That and more is 30 seconds away.
Hi, I'm Jenna Cully, owner of Linen Effects Minneapolis. I bet I can guess the third thing you did after getting engaged. Number 1, you called family and friends to share the good news. Number 2, you started a Pinterest board. Number 3, you realize that you have no idea how to bring that Pinterest board to life. That's where we come in. Let the design experts at Linen Effects take your ideas and bring them into reality. We have everything, including floor-length linens, charger plates, table settings, centerpieces, candles, pretty chairs, lounge furniture sets, and more to make your event picture perfect. Go to our website at lineneffects.com to schedule your appointment today. That's lineneffects.com and see your Pinterest board come to life.
Welcome to Wedding Day Podcast. Today, we are in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and we're with Jaffe and Sara from Graceful Events.
But I'm excited just to sit down with you both because we actually have been mentioning a lot about wedding planners and how fabulous they are.
We'd agree with that.
And so we are like tickled pink because you guys are here just to really like say the importance of having a wedding planner on your wedding day. But first, we of course want to hear a little bit about you and your story and how you two found each other.
So I've been in the wedding industry for, I don't want to age myself, but probably, 17 years? So I started when I was 5. Just kidding. So, I'm glad you got the joke.
I am blonde.
Sonia's like, wait a minute.
Easy one. That's an easy one, Jaffe.
Okay. So anyway, I was working for Geneva National as a wedding coordinator there. So I was planning a lot of the weddings over at Geneva National. Also was planning my own wedding at the time.
Of course,
yes.
always.
And I worked with Jessica Johnson over there, who is on our team now. She's a big planner on our team now. And we did the weddings. We loved it. We were just like in a really good groove. And then the thing that happens after you get married a few years later, I got pregnant, and she has her own story, but I knew I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom and be home with my daughter. So I left, and I was home with my daughter Grace, and we were having some fun. And then some people just started calling me to do their weddings, kind of out of the woodwork, friends or people that had heard that I, knew about weddings and things like that. And so I just started doing weddings occasionally for fun for people. I guess they would pay me, but I would have done it for free. Don't tell my husband that.
I'm the same way.
Yeah.
I won't do anything for free.
I can appreciate that. So then my husband and I were sitting out on the back patio, and I was like, I really love this. And he's like, well, make it a thing. And so then I was like, all right, I'll form an LLC and start a company. And I named the company after my daughter, Grace.
Oh, I love that.
So sweet.
That's so cute.
Yes. And I think, Graceful is really embodies how we try to be and who we are, don't you think?
Absolutely, you have to.
People would agree
Lead
with that.
grace.
I could be wrong.
And
but
having a peaceful and graceful wedding day.
As a planner, you have to have grace.
Yes. Sometimes we are grace under fire,
Yeah.
but it's not.
They don't know how big the fire is.
Right.
Keep that hidden.
Right.
Yes.
So anyway, then I started, doing people's weddings, had a website, started actually putting together contracts, things like that. And then asked, other moms that were, still wanting their foot in their career, that knew weddings well, to come join my team, as there was more demand in people wanting coordinators and planners, and that was 10 years ago, and today we have 22 people on my team, and we do anywhere between 120 and 140 weddings a year, so we keep busy, which is good.
Wow.
You're rocking it.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you. But I did meet Sara back in 2020. So in 2020, January 2nd, I found out I was pregnant with my third child, and I was like, holy cow, what am I going to do? We have all these weddings this year. And then this crazy thing happened, and the world shut down, and the path just cleared itself. So it all it all kind of worked out. But then when we started gaining the momentum, and I had a new baby, we had some weddings that we already contracted, and I reached out to Sara. We knew each other from a while back. We crossed paths probably 20 years ago at Lake Lawn, and I just remember her just being, you know, such a fun ball of energy, but so good at what she did, and she just really took care of her clients, but knew everything about the industry, and people love her. And anyways, I reached out to her kind of like on a whim, and I was like, is there any chance you would want to do a wedding for us? And she's like, I would love that. She responded right away, and the rest is history. And now she
was hooked.
Yeah, so then she quit her job and came full-time with Graceful, and she does our top weddings, and she's amazing, and her clients love her, and they are raving fans of her work. So yes.
I also started when I was 5.
Yeah.
So I've been in the industry for 26 years.
Yeah.
So started off, grew up in Chicago, started right in college at the Hotel Orienton. It was the Omni Orienton, it was a boutique hotel.
Cute.
Jumped in with weddings, and then was at Lake Lawn Resort in Delavan. Old school Lake Lawn Lodge that is now Lake Lawn Resort for 20 years. So, and that's where our paths crossed.
It just shows
was
like
hooked.
when you're in the wedding, profession, you make frienders.
Absolutely,
for sure.
absolutely.
While you're making wedding days happen, that you got to have fun with your frienders. That means wedding professionals being friends with wedding professionals.
Right.
Yeah,
Because that's who you're hanging out with on the weekends and the late nights.
absolutely.
So you got to have fun with each other.
And we do.
Yeah.
We genuinely love our job. Walking into a wedding and getting to work with our collaborative partners is so fulfilling to us. Like I always say, whenever we drive away from a wedding, I mean, I might be speaking for both of us,
No,
but
absolutely.
I just feel like I'm on this enormous high of, we just did the most amazing thing, and we were able to give somebody the opportunity to fully be present on their wedding day, to get to enjoy it, and to, just like take on what the day is. And how many people get to say that for their work? But then also, in conjunction with that, Sara does a lot of planning, and she takes the stress out of the planning for couples, because I mean, anybody that's ever planned a wedding could agree that wedding planning can get stressful.
It's a year and a half.
For sure.
I mean, it's a year. Most of the ones that that I work with are at least a year and a half, maybe 2 years out. And it's like, you're not just an event planner. You're not just a wedding planner. You're a mediator. You're a therapist. You are a seamstress. You are a dog walker. You're everything. I mean, the list is endless, honestly, to what we and we find most of the time that patience and grace that'll get you through just about anything. But
I think couples underestimate how much work it actually is. They're like, oh, well, I'm just going to hire a DJ. I'm going to hire a photographer. I'll hire, I have Instagram. I have a Pinterest. I can look at all these things.
yeah,
That's not true.
You should see the thank you cards that we get, and it's like such meaningful work for us, because we genuinely get to serve. We're in a service industry, and that is serving people. And I was listening, gosh, I'm gonna forget his name, and I'm sorry. I was listening to Oprah interview somebody on her Super Soul series, and she was interviewing somebody she wrote a book with, and he was talking about the 4 pillars of your life that constitute a happy and balanced life. And one of the pillars was your work life and how to achieve happiness in your work life. And there were 2 things that you had to achieve in that. And the first thing was, you have to do a job that you feel like you're truly serving others or, fixing their problems or helping people in some way. And the second part is you have to truly feel like you've earned your spot where you are. And those two things,
really
I mean,
good.
that resonates with us so much and my team because that's what we do. I mean,
You have to be
we're-
passionate.
Oh,
You have to be
yeah.
passionate. If you don't enjoy your job, there are so many stressors. There's so much involved in the course of the planning the day of. And if you don't enjoy it, I mean,
yeah.
we pride ourselves on, yes, we're a ball of energy, very positive, but we pride ourselves on like not only having a great team, but picking the team, picking the vendors, picking the
Right.
supporters, the support staff, because everybody has to, it's got to be a well-oiled machine. Everybody's got to get on the same page,
Everybody
Yeah,
has
and
to-
row
you
the
know.
boat together on this
Yeah.
wedding
You do.
day.
You
and the
absolutely
synergy
do.
that has to come together is incredible and critical in the success of the event.
Yeah.
I love what you said about being present on a wedding day, because that's a lot of a reason why you hire a wedding planner.
Well, I can speak to that personally because
Okay.
when I got married to my husband, again, gonna date myself, but almost 16 years ago. So there was nothing like this that existed at the time in our area. In Chicago, Milwaukee, sure, but not in the Lake Geneva area. It just wasn't a thing. Nobody had ever heard of this. And so the day of my wedding rolls around and I had it planned. Everything was planned fine, but when you bring in 200 guests and some of it is a mini destination location for these guests. And then there's all these moving parts with different vendors and 2 different locations and a timeline that is, to the minute. There's things that inevitably will go wrong, right? So the day of my wedding rolls around and I never saw my mom most of the day. So like we're getting ready, she's not there. We're getting ready for the ceremony. She's not there. I finally saw her after the ceremony, and I remember like she just looked a little frazzled, and I was like, I wonder what that's about. And then it moved on with being the bride,
Like,
right?
anyway, back to me.
Selfishly,
okay, yeah.
here we go. It's about me.
Yes.
And then later, I find out that she was that wedding coordinator that day. She was running a team of aunts and uncles and guests
Oh my goodness.
to like fix all of the problems, put out the fire, and just do all the things that we typically do on a wedding day. And so then after that, talking to my mom, I was like, wow, there should really be something like that because this is a problem that is very reoccurring to all bridal couples. It wasn't just me. I had it planned. It wasn't, but you need somebody at the bare minimum to be that point person the day of your wedding. On a typical wedding day, this blows a lot of people's minds, but if I were to quantify it for a bridal couple, we do about 30,000 steps per wedding day.
Oh, for sure.
And we
calculated
have
down to
2 to 3 people with us on a typical
That's why wedding
event.
professionals don't work out, because we get our steps in.
Don't
You don't
need
need
to.
to.
Yes.
You don't need
No
to.
wedding
to.
day.
Yeah.
You got to get an Orange Theory membership in like December when the
Yes.
slow season starts.
Like you said, being present in it. We've talked about this before on how it's really important. I think everybody going through COVID and going through all this and all the changes and adaptations that we had to do, I think it's really important. We know from our company that we set aside time. We actually plan it into the schedule for the bride and groom to like, here's 10 minutes. You guys are going to go for a walk. We're going to take you aside and plan that downtime.
I
They don't
love-
think
that's
about
my
it. When you're planning your
favorite.
timeline, it's like ceremony, cocktail reception, dinner. You're kind of going through all of that. Oh, we've got to get our sunset photos and everything. But it's like, okay, taking the time for just the 2 of you to have your moment. One of the things we do is the room reveals. I know a lot of probably
I love the
planners
room
do.
reveal
Yeah.
too.
But we love it. It's just the 2 of them. It's like, okay, now you can see everything has come to fruition. Stand in the room, just the 2 of you, by yourself. We'll be off in a corner just to take it all in. Because it's so important. And we've gotten so many thank yous, so many cards saying that meant the world to me.
And people forget
because-
about the room reveal because you see, you have your Pinterest board for a reason.
Yes,
Right.
This- you want to
absolutely.
see your Pinterest board come to life.
Right.
And a lot of times they don't take the time for the big
Right.
reveal, and they walk in and their guests are already in.
Yeah.
Right.
They're sitting in their chairs. You're not seeing the
Yes.
whole
No.
details to
So
the
a
full
year and a
table
half.
setting.
Yeah.
Right, a year and a
it's
half of
untouched.
conversations.
Yes, year and a half of conversations, exactly.
And the pictures don't do it justice. You know what I mean? Like you really to be present in that moment. We love being able to like, here's a glass of champagne, here's some hors d'oeuvres. You guys sit down, just take it all in. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Take a deep breath.
One of the trends that I've seen this year. It was brand. Actually, I only saw it once, and I thought it was the coolest thing. And maybe you do this. Maybe you've heard of it. I'm a videographer, so I get to spend some of that intimate time with the couples, before the ceremony, right after the ceremony and whatnot. And what they did was after the ceremony, you know how normally if you have a buffet or you have a plated meal, normally the bride and groom, they get their plates first and they go through the line first. What this planner or day of coordinator did was they had a private meal for the couple in the bridal suite. So they got to eat their dinner probably 30 minutes before everybody else. It was a plated meal.
Interesting.
And it was amazing because the thing that happens during the wedding or during the dinner is the bride and groom, they don't get to eat because people are talking to them. They're the bridal party's talking to them. Everyone's talking to them. They're distracted.
Speeches, right.
There's speeches, there's toasts. And I thought that this was a really cool way to kind of fuse together some alone time and also let's get some food in your belly, right?
Yeah.
Two very important things, recharging the social battery and fueling them for the rest of the day.
We can tell, we can feel the vibe of a couple literally, like after the ceremony, especially too, when they're really like, we got married, we're so excited. It's like, steal them, take them away for that 5 minutes so that they can really have that moment together and not be like, now we've got to go into family photos. Now we've got to go into this. Right. The energy is just so intense, but we've done that. That's really so important.
I brought that up because this is actually one of my biggest pet peeves when I ran my venue. You may agree, but when the couple are sitting at the head table, the sweetheart table, harvest table, the king's table, the bride and groom need to sit in their chairs. Because if they leave the chairs, they're setting an energy and a presence that they don't need it. Nobody needs to sit in their chair.
Yeah.
You got it. And so if you, at the bride and groom, you're like the lead actors of the day.
Yeah.
Right.
And follow with whatever you do. So if you're eating, you're sitting in your chair, your bridal party's going to sit in the chairs. Nobody's going to venture off to the bar and keep the bar party going on. Like, if you sit in your chair, your dinner experience will begin and continue.
That's the struggle.
You guys, do you agree with that?
Yeah. That's the struggle I think couples deal with. I think they want to be present for their guests. They want to go and, you've got out of town, you've got cousins you haven't seen in several years. You want to go table to table. Maybe mom and dad are encouraging them to do that. Whatever the case may be, they feel like they have a little bit of that pressure, like, okay, we're going to go to each table and talk. But what turns out, we all have that crazy Uncle Bob that will like talk your ear off for 20 minutes.
Oh, yeah. And say,
you know
God bless America, because there's love in it.
Right?
He doesn't understand social cues. Yeah, he doesn't get social cues.
We can see, like, our eyes are constantly focused on the couple, and we can see, we always tell them, don't separate. You don't want to be at one table and hear the groom's halfway across the room. Or for the simple fact of, we want you to eat. We want you to be present and sit down. So it's sometimes extending maybe a cocktail hour for like an extra half hour. Sometimes, they had this trend last year about doing this, quick photos. I don't know if as a videographer, if you've done this before, it's like you have a song and it's like, okay, we're going to get to every table. We're going to do a photo. It's like a race.
The DJ's like, all right, everybody, we got 1 minute.
Right. But that's one way to visit. And like, we kind of play that loving bad guy, like, we'll go with you. Table 1, everybody up. Table 2, everybody up. You know what I mean? So you can still get that in, but I think that's one of the challenges is like, do we have enough time trying to fit it in and giving them that?
Yes. And to add to that a little bit on an operational standpoint, the catering staff, they're looking at the bridal couple as, like you said, the main actors, and that's their cue to start the next course is if they're ready. So they lead the service of the food so much. And would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Yeah. They're always looking for them. Like, can you have them sit down so we can serve the entree? Or we want to keep it hot. So when they're down, can you let us know? And
that's a good point because if you have a plated dinner, that filet, that is not going to taste good 10 minutes long.
Compromise the quality
We're
of
looking
the
at
food,
that chef, with the
And
daggers,
the chef is looking at
She's like,
them. We're looking at the planner, and the chef is just standing there and goes, my filet mignons are ready to be eaten.
Sharpening his knives.
Or when the sales start executing, that's when he's like, I'm ready to finish them off.
Yeah.
So
that's probably
that's a key about timeline.
Yeah.
Timeline is huge. You can't screw up the timeline.
Right.
Timeline is set for a reason.
Yeah, the caterers sweat too because it's their food, so the guests don't know that something was off with the timeline. They just know that they got an overcooked steak.
Right.
That is a perfect example why you need a wedding planner because they're there to make sure we're working with the coordinator on the venue,
Yep.
right? Because the coordinator is working with the catering team or the chef. You're also working with the DJ or whoever's doing the Grand March entrance.
Exactly.
Right.
The toast.
That's
the
when my
everything.
blood pressure would get so hot. I'm like, all right, bridal parties with the DJ. Cool.
Right.
They're going to do the Grand March. Everybody lined up. Is everybody here? Cool. Who's doing the prayer? Where's dad? Where's dad?
Right.
Yeah.
I know.
Chef is looking at me. We got to go. Everybody smile.
Yes.
Should we tell about the gala that we did with the torrential
Grace under pressure.
Grace
This
under
is what we're
pressure
calling
was
it.
Oh, you have a
our-
whole a series of catchphrases for the
So-
Grace.
Totally.
Grace under
So
fire, Grace under
it's
pressure.
amazing how we use that a
Yeah.
lot. But yeah,
Actually,
we were
people called us that.
I
So
love
then
that.
we
Yes.
were like, you know what?
I
That
gotta hear
is-
it. Now tell us more. What is
so
it?
like this great opportunity that you guys have given us today. We were given this huge opportunity to be the planners. We were asked for Yerkes Observatory in Williams Bay, which is historic. Obviously used to be iconic, was
Yeah.
connected with the University of Chicago. We were asked to do their gala, but it was in a tent at Yerkes on the grounds, and it turned out to be
Oh, it
a
was-
torrential downpour.
Yeah.
that
Of
day.
course
like
it
I could
did.
not describe more
There's no
severe weather.
Exactly.
And people need to know with a tent, it's like popping up. It's a blank canvas.
Yes. It
And
is.
you're
There's-
making a venue
Yeah.
From
from
scratch.
from scratch out of a
Right.
tent. So you have to think about all the things think of a building going into a tent, from restrooms. Where's the
Everything.
catering tent? Where's all those things? So just giving them to
marquee
keep in mind.
just-
You're popping up a venue.
Absolutely.
Right. Yes.
It's like the day before, 2 days before, I think, we're like, okay, to get guests from the observatory to the tent, we need a marquee. We're going to have to add this on last minute because we need to have a walkway.
Special plug to Blue Peak.
Yeah.
Blue Peak?
They were amazing at executing.
them.
I'm sure it was
so
last
much.
minute.
Last minute.
Again,
yeah.
another reason for a planner to help solve those problems last minute and knowing who to call.
Absolutely.
I mean, the power went out. The power went out at a moment.
Oh,
So
So
we had a kitchen constructed. The
kitchen constructed.
Blue Plate out of Madison, they were phenomenal. They
love
brought
Blue
a
Plate.
whole kitchen. David and his
know
crew,
David.
I cannot say enough good things about. Anyways,
But the amount of
Yes.
quick interaction, the amount of quick, like on your toes, like she's saying 30,000 steps. I mean, we probably doubled that
and
day,
we had how
but
many people working that event?
we had
From our
almost our
team.
entire team. We
Yeah.
had maybe 16 of our girls that were there, but the amount of like you need to be quick on your toes, running around. And the thing is, like the grace under pressure, it's like you do it with a smile on your face. You move quick. You get it done. You know, whether you're dancing across the dance floor with the, you know, everybody there, or you're helping the caterer, helping whatever it might be, you don't show fear ever. Like you don't show fear. You don't show like the angst of what you're dealing with.
Voted Minnesota Bride's best jeweler every year since 2010, Continental Diamond has an amazing selection of diamonds, engagement rings, wedding bands, jewelry, and timepieces. Providing the best experience possible, their team is friendly, knowledgeable, and there to make the process fun and easy. Trust the reviews. They're top rated on Google. Visit Continental Diamond, the jewelry store Minnesota adores. Online at continentaldiamond.com.
When engaged couples are starting their wedding planning process, we've definitely, as a brand, encouraged finding the planner right away. I actually say get the planner first before you find the venue.
Oh, I totally agree with that. Yeah.
So how does that look when engaged couples reach out to you and ask you questions like, why should I book a wedding planner? Why is that an important investment to have the perfect wedding day?
Sure, that's a great question. So I think, you know, if your budget allows, booking a wedding planner is one of the best gifts you could give yourself to enjoy the process of the planning and not feel stressed, know what we should be doing and how we should be doing it and where we should be doing it, but then also get to be present on the day of your wedding. So you're spending all this time, money, and energy into planning this perfect day. Why not be able to actually enjoy it? So that, I say, would be the reason why they would book a wedding planner or a wedding coordinator.
I love that. A gift to yourself. That is a great way to look at a planner.
We had a groom that basically in one of our our thank you letters basically said it was an investment that I wouldn't change, you know, I wouldn't change anything because it was an investment in the day for them.
I give always another example when people ask me, should I, because again, close friends still contact me.
Sure.
Sonia, should I invest in a wedding planner? I go, absolutely. The perfect example is when when you're sitting in your chair as a bride and you're getting your hair and makeup done and your phone is blowing up
Yes.
and things are going wrong
Yes.
and you're trying to delegate while you're trying to relax
Absolutely.
and be a bride and
Right.
soak in and can't wait to see your partner at the end of the
Yes.
aisle or that first look. Like when it goes rogue with that tension, the whole energy goes away. Where
Absolutely.
when you have a planner, your phone doesn't blow up.
Right.
You don't have Auntie Janet calling with panic saying, "Where do I put the cakes, honey buns,
Oh.
to keep them cold?"
Yeah.
Well, you have a day of hero too. Like, I mean, there's a lot of
Day of
things
hero.
we had talked about. You have kits to fix things. You can go and get people.
With like dress malfunctions.
Yeah.
Been there.
I
Oh, yeah.
totally funny wedding story, but yeah, we've had, like you're saying, we've got our wedding emergency bag. We all carry them around with us. So whether it's seamstress, whether it's whatever, I've sewn a wedding dress right after, one of the groomsmen stepped on it and tore the tooling, and I've literally sewn it right after the ceremony so that they still had it for pictures. So the biggest thing I think that we do is doing like a group text, like with the parents, doing the group text with the guys, doing the group text with the girls, because you don't want the bride's phone blowing up saying, "Oh, the shuttle's here, you guys need to get on. Oh, your florals are here." We want to be the one person to take all that burden off so that mom and Aunt Sally and everybody else can sit and enjoy that. So it's one point person saying, "Your photo, first look, 1 o'clock, be there," and make it really seamless.
That's so awesome.
Because, and it helps because then they're not the person, because what tends to be is that the groomsmen, the bridesmaids, they're all looking to the bride. "Oh, I forgot what the schedule is. I forgot what this is." Or they're asking mom, and they're not present. They're all not together. And when we work at these resorts, they're scattered all over the place sometimes. You know what I mean? So trying to track people down and to keep with that timeline, that's why we tend to do that a lot, just to keep everybody on the same path.
So we talked about, a planner is a gift to yourself. Not everyone thinks they can afford a planner, right? Are there some places where maybe we could cut in the budget, other areas, like maybe you don't have floral, maybe you don't have
Well, you gotta have it all, Dan.
trench? I
Do
understand.
your guests really need to eat?
Yeah, like
Right.
can you do hot dogs?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing about, like our company is we have all these different price points. So we try to do that because we really do find the value in every bridal couple deserving to enjoy their wedding day. So we started out low, and that is a day of coordination package. And you're at the bare minimum, you get to be present on your wedding day. And I always think of like the analogy of like, let's say you're throwing a party and you're the host or hostess, and one of the things that allows you to be a gracious hostess is to protect your energy. And one of the things that will steal your energy the most is stress. People become completely different versions of themselves when they are under intense pressure and stress. And we have such an emotionally charged industry. I mean, there's so many layers of potential stress, but also excitement. The day of a person's wedding, they're getting married, A. B, they're being a hostess to 200 of their closest friends. C, they've just invested in the biggest amount of their life up until this point, typically, on this large scale event. And
That is going to go by in the blink of an eye.
yeah. So I think about like the analogy of planning like a little birthday party or something. I know personally, like I just get so worn out by the time the guests get there, and I'm just like, I just want to go lay down.
Yeah.
And we don't want our bridal couples to feel that way. We want them to be preserved with their energy and charged up and ready to go, because your whole wedding feeds off of your energy.
It does. They're the lead actors.
Yeah, and that's why it's important to put those little buffer moments in to where, hey, take 10 minutes and just go sit, go outside, breathe some fresh air, get away from people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one thing that I know that we pride ourselves on too is that, obviously Jaffe will get leads and calls that come through, but doing a consultation call. So, a lot of times she'll reach out and say, I've got this couple, they really want to know like maybe what package they should go with, or they want to meet with you. So like we do a lot where I might get on a call, they'll invest very little amount of money to have an hour phone call to kind of go and see like where are you at with your planning process. Maybe like you said, they didn't book us right away, they already have their venue, they already have their caterer or whatever it might be. So it kind of helps them, gives them just a little bit of a foot in the door to help them kind of find out, you know, what help do I need? There are some that will reach out, you know, and they're already 6 months away from the wedding and they're like, okay, we realize this is a huge undertaking, we need help now, you know, and then it really kind of gauges. But we've got this giant, you know, master document, Google Doc that we work off of. We pull all the information together. We have, depending on packages, we have multiple meetings, unlimited emails. The one thing that we pride ourselves too on, I know we talked about this, is that we have such a large team, but part of Graceful Events is the extra security. You know, everybody's gone through like businesses closing down and, oh, you know, I don't have access to my dress or these types of things. If ever something should happen, knock on wood, you know, we have a backup. We have a backup plan. If somebody should get sick, if somebody should, you know, we have an entire team to jump in. And it's happened, you know, where someone's come down with the flu or what have you. So that's always that security we tell couples.
That is a perfect reason why planners always have a backup plan and a backup plan. They usually have 2 backup plans to every situation. So even if you have a tent wedding, they are planning for the rain, and then they're planning for a thunderstorm, and then they're planning how to do the emergency exit of a tent.
We had a backup bar inside ready to go. We had
Umbrellas.
hors d'oeuvres all ready to go inside just in case we had to evacuate the tent. Like everything was in a seamless way.
And that's perfect
prepared.
for even like a ceremony as well. Because
Yes.
again, this is the Midwest, not sunny California.
Right.
Warpaint International Beauty Agency, a team of on-site, award-winning hair and makeup artisans that bring the beauty to you. On-site beauty whenever, wherever. They understand how valuable your time is and the importance of looking your best. Their team of vetted professionals design exquisite hairstyles and makeup applications for corporate, editorial, weddings, headshots, special occasions, and more. All in the comfort and convenience of the location you choose. Warpaint International, the ultimate symbol of luxury and excellence in hair and makeup artistry.
So when they're selecting the perfect wedding planner, like, again, the smart ones get one before they get a venue, but a lot like don't, like you said, get them after they book a caterer and a venue, and that is perfectly fine. But when they ideally reach out to you for the first time, how do you like to start that wedding planning process with a booked couple?
Sure. And this is prior to the venue and everything?
It could be prior to the venue.
We don't
or
have
just,
anything.
Or just
Okay,
like,
so nothing.
just
This is
they
great.
Just
I'm not
start
even
the
engaged
journey.
yet.
I'm
Not
just starting
engaged.
the journey.
That happens a lot. All right,
Yeah.
let's find a partner for you first. I know some people, but no, I would say this is a really great opportunity for us, and I would say only maybe 5% of people come to us in this position, but this is very helpful to make sure your entire wedding day is seamless and cohesive in not only design, but timeline and vendor coordination and collaborative partners and all of that. So then we can really understand, you know, like a few things about our couple. What brings them alive? What keeps them up at night? What is something they're really into? And we can kind of like, and Sara might add to this, but we can take all of those things that really, you know, make the couple so unique and find the venue that will honor them in that way. And does the venue speak to them? And
So you're saying, like, when you first meet with them, you want to know what is their number ones.
What makes
on
them
their-
tick?
The first meeting, honestly, is get to know them. We'll dig deep. The whole joy of like being a wedding planner, to me, I don't want to speak for everybody, but it's getting to know them. It's like really the personal connection. You might be dealing with, just kind of a year and a half out, 2 years out. It could only be, a short amount of time, but really getting to know them and personally. So if you're starting
I
from-
planned a wedding in a month last year.
Yeah, right.
Oh my gosh.
I've done it in 2 weeks.
I did it in 3 hours.
You win.
But like,
But getting to
Tired.
know them, because
I totally.
if they don't have, like, for example, if they don't have anything lined up and they're looking at us first, it's like getting to know them, getting to know, okay, what's your background? Where did you grow up? Because that will help to assist in like helping to pick a venue. Once you get the venue locked in, then it's kind of like you were saying earlier about how can couples save on certain things? A resort venue is a lot different than a venue where you're bringing everything in, or a tent wedding where you're building everything from scratch, so it's really looking at their budget too. Unfortunately, it's the unhappy, it's the non-popular question of like, okay, where's your budget at? Most of
But
them
you
really
have to talk about
you have
it.
to. Most of them don't know sometimes. It's like, okay, if you don't know what your budget is, what are you uncomfortable with? Give us a range, or where is we can't exceed this. Not that we're saying we're going to get you there, but we need to know what you're comfortable with, what's not going to add undue
And this
stress
helps
on
us
you.
protect the bridal couple too, and
I
know
love
what
that.
planet we're on when we're, recommending different
Especially if you
things.
present different ideas about floral.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're like, that is not in my budget. And you're like,
Yes.
well, this
Absolutely.
is what your Pinterest board showed
Right,
me.
exactly.
Well, and every couple's different too. Like, for grooms, they're like, oh, the food's really important, the bar's really important, the band's got to be really good. So we need to know kind of what are your top three items on your wedding day. If flowers are really abundant, you want it to be, we know what vendors, we know our friends, or, people that we work with.
Or
of,
what
like,
wedding professional that they prefer to make that come to life and maybe be more adaptable to a certain budget.
Exactly.
When we're talking about budgets too, I think there's two different schools of thought here. So if you're hiring a planner, you need to be honest with your planner what your budget is.
Absolutely.
If you're doing it on your own, I think a lot of couples will, they'll say, oh, because, I'm a videographer. So in our inquiry form, we have, what's your budget?
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people go, well, I'm going to tell them my budget is $500 because then, maybe they'll change the price down to that. It's completely different with a planner because you are working with the vendors directly and you are negotiating for them on their behalf what these, what you're going to pay for video,
It's
what you're
kinda
going to pay
gonna
for
be
photo.
buying a car.
Exactly what
You
it is.
know,
Yeah.
like with each wedding professional, like in like a catering, you don't realize that it's $50 ahead. You're planning $20 ahead.
Right.
So that's why you have your planners as a negotiator, but again, knowing what the budget's all about.
And in certain venues like resorts, the tables, the chairs, the linens, the, china, glass, silver, that's all included most of the time in those packages. Whereas we want to talk them through that, because if they're looking at a venue that you have to bring everything in, that can really jack up your budget. You may pay $14,000 just to rent the venue, and then you're adding all of that on top.
Because some
So-
venues don't provide tables and chairs and china,
exactly.
flatware, and glassware.
Right.
And it's the coordination of that.
Linens, all of that.
Yeah.
And budgets come in all shapes and sizes.
Yes, they do.
And every time I ask that, because that's one of the first questions I ask on a consultation call is, and I always hear the hesitancy in their voice, and I say, listen, whatever your budget is, it's a very respectable amount, and I have zero judgment. I just need to know candidly, because it helps me do a good job for you, or us do a good job for you.
That's really good.
I love that.
Yeah, there's nothing worse than getting 3 months out and going, oh my word, we have no more money. Or we always tell brides, stop looking at the Pinterest board.
Yes.
You're done.
Oh, I love that. Actually, I think
Yeah.
once they solidify
cut
their
off.
theme, you lock that Pinterest board. You do not keep adding to that, because that just confuses your wedding professionals that you're working with.
Yeah.
The other thing too is that we have a wonderful designer. Katie is our designer on our team. So we have brides that, they're like, we've got all these ideas. My Pinterest board is gigantic. We need to kind of pull some things together. And sometimes they'll have 3 different color palettes. They'll have 3 different styles. And they're like,
This isn't
I need
cohesive.
someone. I need that person to pull it together. That's when the budget really comes in, because Katie will put together these gorgeous, 12-page design boards based off of your Pinterest board, based off of what you want. Well, that what's listed there could be a $100,000 wedding, and realistically, that's why we want to really have a more realistic
So
number.
I love that you actually just brought up design boards, aka mood boards. So, a lot of wedding professionals like to work off of a mood board to help continue the design of the wedding day, right? To make sure it's staying cohesive with the food, with the look, with the flowers, etc.
Absolutely.
So it is very common to be presented a mood board, and that just fills my bucket. I think it's the coolest thing, and I love that's becoming popular. But I have any couples presented mood boards, but because the Pinterest board is kind of like a mood board, but when you present them a mood board, are they like, whoa? Is that like that cherry on top?
It is. I think it's like the giant sigh of relief, because the Pinterest board can be just it could be years of putting ideas and things into there. This isn't just during the planning process. You could have things in there. They're like, oh, this is what my dress is going to be. When they see the mood board, it's almost like we've done we've kind of pulled out what we feel is like the best parts and kind of getting to know them too. We know what their personality is. Like, there's things like, creating a different vision of like their menu cards or their guest book and kind of like really incorporating them personally. When you show them this, and it's everything from the whole tablescape to what their guest book's going to look like, what the interaction of like their table seating chart, what the late night snacks and, the dance floor, everything is incorporated. It's such an aha moment, I think, every time we see it. And it's that sigh of relief. It's like, oh, I have this huge burden that's like off my shoulders now. It all makes sense. You've pulled it together. There's always going to be someone.
It's going to be that aha moment, being like, they got it.
Right.
But then
they can finally see their wedding.
But then they can pick and choose. They're like, I like that. Like maybe we'll give them 2 options. I like that goblet over this one or something, So then they have it narrowed down better for them, so they have a better understanding.
So once they book the planner, again, how do you help hold their hand with selecting their wedding professionals?
Who's next?
Yes, who's
Absolutely.
next?
So a lot of times I think though when they're contracting with us, they already have their venue. I think most of them already have their venue in place. Depending on the venue, if it's a resort, you've got catering, you've got, beverage taken care of. But I think what we're seeing just industry-wise for a trend is if it's a venue that does not have a caterer, you need to lock your caterer in right away because they take so many per weekend, whatever the case may be.
And that's why they have you to help lock in that caterer.
Exactly.
And to recommend the right one that goes with their budget, their style, the presentation they're looking to achieve.
Everything too in terms of distance. I mean, a lot of, in terms of travel expenses, there's things that we see contracts obviously all the time. If they're coming from further out, what's the additional cost that's going to be, how many staff do they provide, all of that. The other one, pretty much after catering, I would say would be your music, especially if it's a band. DJs, we have a little bit more flexibility with, but I think bands especially, they tend to book up really quickly. Photographer would be next, photographer, videographer. We always recommend too, if you can find a team that does photographer and videography together, that's fabulous. You want to be able to work well,
except for Dan.
So that's something that I know a little bit about and I think the reason for that is you want to make sure that they get along well, that they gel throughout the day, because you're spending these are the 2 people, your photographer and your videographer are the 2 people that you're spending pretty much all day with. I mean, they're the planner too, but so you have the photographer and videographer all day with you. If they're on a team, if for instance, Summit Hill Studios offers both photo and video. We know each other. We know we get along well. We know our personalities. We know during the ceremony, like, okay, photographer, you're going to be there. Videographer, I'm going to be here. And you work really well together to get all those great shots.
There's nothing worse than crossing.
You also, as wedding planners, know the energy of this couple and who they're going to mesh well with a certain type of wedding professional as well.
Absolutely.
So you kind of, again, help the interviewing process to go a little bit faster.
The important thing about photographers too and videographers is make sure they're comfortable with the site where you're going to be at, the venue. If they haven't, and if it's like we've fallen in love with them, have them do a site visit. I think it's really important that we tell our couples that, because if the photographer shows up the day of the wedding and they have no idea where the first look location is going to be, or they have no idea like what the venue provides or what areas they have access to, that can really throw your timeline off, and if they don't show up earlier to kind of do that pre-work. So that's something we always recommend. The other thing too that we've noticed, hair and makeup. This is crazy. And maybe it's just a year-to-year thing, but this year I think that we have talked to 26 plus hair and makeup vendors, because some of them do outsource. They have their own team, they outsource and bring in some others from other companies and so forth. So that's one that we've noticed.
And if they can work together again in tandem, that is much better.
All right, so we have planner, we have venue, we have catering, photography, videography, makeup artist.
We need stationery. We need
stationery,
rentals.
Can come a little bit later, but then maybe a baker. A lot of people are doing more dessert stations or sweet tables, things like that.
Some of those unique vendors. So like if you're looking, we've noticed too, like vintage cars. During COVID, a lot of those companies went and sold their cars, which is crazy. We've got maybe a handful that we know to work with. Little specialty bars, Bitsy Bar, and some of these things. So some things that are very unique, special entertainment, dueling pianos, amazing waiters, things like that are ones to create that personal touch and make it different.
Can I go back though?
Yeah.
Did we mention florist?
Oh my goodness, yeah, they're definitely
I would
huge.
bring that back up to the top because
Yeah.
that's a huge
I just got
part.
a Quick Trip. Go to Quick Trip,
Oh,
grab a
stop
couple
it.
of stems.
Stop it.
No, I
But-
would say that's
In
up
tandem with
there.
the band. Probably,
that's
yeah.
another reason why a planner is great, because they can actually knock this all out super fast.
Yeah.
Because honestly, you need to honestly book them all right away.
Yeah.
Like, don't wait. Just get them done.
You know, it
That's
depends
true,
on the
especially with the
couple's
planner.
jobs too. So we always ask that, like, what is your job? If they're in nursing, if they're a doctor, whatever it might be, they may have no time for research. They may have no time. So we'll do that work of contacting. We'll send them 3 links. Here's 3 bands. Which one do you like? And then we'll reach out for the contract for them to
Yeah.
help them out.
And
you
even
know?
if they do the research,
Yeah.
you know, their Instagram may be flawless, right? They have all these gorgeous pictures.
Right.
What if they don't show up?
They-
What if they don't come? I mean, you can't
You
tell
still
by those
need
things.
to interview them.
Yeah.
You
And-
still need to meet who you're going to be working with on the wedding day.
Right.
Exactly.
And you can meet less if you have a planner who has trusted vendors,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Definitely.
Another one that we often recommend is a hotel block in our area. It's a mini destination location, and hotel blocks are huge. Another unsung hero for the day is transportation.
Oh yeah. Well,
Well-
we know that you're going to be seeing that one from Butler Transportation.
So
It's
yeah,
right away for sure.
episode number 3 on Wedding Day podcast was Rod Childress from Butler Transportation in Seattle, and honestly, we learned so much.
That's why it's number 3.
Rod of course thought that it goes planner, venue, transportation.
Yeah, and again,
But-
every wedding professional with
Yeah.
their certain categories, again, at the saying, book us right away.
And that goes to what you said, Sonia, is like they're all important.
Yeah.
And if you want them, book them.
Depends on the location too, though, for transportation.
Our
too.
area, I mean, so a lot of our weddings are logistically complex, right? So a lot of times we incorporate the Lake Geneva Cruise Line with our weddings, which means that guests need to be picked up from a pier, taken to another destination on the lake, and dropped off. Well, where's their cars, right? So we need shuttle spot on. We need to have clearance to make sure the some shuttles of 55 passengers cannot fit in the locations that our weddings are, like private estates or things like that. So we need to really know those vendors.
And this is why Auntie Janet can't be your wedding planner. This is why a wedding planner is asking those questions, thinking of those little logistics from how many the boat can hold versus a shuttle bus can hold.
Absolutely.
And that's why they hire a wedding planner.
Yes.
We always love Auntie Janet because she kind of becomes the personal attendant and becomes buddy with the wedding planner, right?
Absolutely.
Aunt Janet likes to drink, though. She does.
never know.
She takes a little nip here and there, you know. You think everything's
At
great.
the end of the
and then-
night, she's,
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's high-fiving the
Yeah.
wedding
Yeah.
planners. We did it.
Yeah.
Yes, we
Exactly.
did. Well, thank you so much, you two, for joining Dan and I here in Milwaukee at the Society. Like, we learned so much from you two, and it's just such a joy to hear your story and all the tips and tricks and trends that you're seeing to share with our engaged couples. Really appreciate it.
Well, we wanted to take a second to just say thank you both and your entire team for everything that Wisconsin Bride does for our industry. I don't think that you probably even know, like, the innovation that you guys inspire in our industry and the vendors. Anytime I talk to another vendor, I'm always like, you have to get a membership with Wisconsin Bride. It will up your game in so many ways. Just, you know, like, you bring so many vendors together. You help us to collaborate and make those connections, which helps our bridal couples, but also, you know, just like your magazine helps brides and grooms, and
Your energy is infectious, honestly. We get so so excited. Just the couple events that we've been to and everything. We kind of leave there with such a just really exciting outlook on what the next year is going to be. So
Sonia knows how to throw a party.
yeah.
just have that party. Yes.
I love to throw a good party.
Well, you do fabulous.
Thank you. I know Team Bride's listening in, so they really love that.
And Team Wedding Day.
A team wedding day.
Yeah.
Yes, team wedding day.
Team Wedding Day.
Well, thank you all for tuning in. Dan, that's a
That's
wrap,
me.
huh?
Yep, that's a wrap.
Well, thank you for joining in.
Yep, here on Wedding Day Podcast. Join us. If you're listening on Spotify right now, you can watch this. You can see us on YouTube. You can also listen on Apple Podcasts and anywhere that you get your podcasts. Please follow us on Instagram and all the places at Wedding Day Podcast. Have a great day. We'll see you. Bye.